you've written for us a couple of times as a guest, and we talked via email a bit about the latest news of Jerry Seinfeld self-diagnosing and coming. There's been a strong reaction within the autism community, and I thought we'd get your thoughts a little bit about what he had to say and your thoughts about self-diagnosis as well.
Yeah, I'll take the latter comment first. And first and foremost, there's no self-diagnosis. There are standards in the field of services for children that fall on the spectrum, and there are requirements in terms of how that diagnosis needs to occur. So, for example, the gold standard for us is to diagnose through a specific tool, which is referred to as the ADOS, or the Autism Diagnostic Tool, Diagnostic Observation Schedule, also referred to as the ADOS. So to answer your question, there's no self-diagnosis. To be responsible as a professional, for us to be responsible, we really do require the formal diagnostic testing to occur before rendering such a diagnosis. Now, having said that, I did watch the Jerry Seinfeld comment on the Brian Williams show. It wasn't my sense that his intention necessarily was to diagnose himself. I think he was placing himself somewhere on that spectrum. I think he's recognizing characteristics that he has that are similar to individuals on the spectrum. And my sense was that his intention was to self-reflect, kind of self-evaluate, and explain just exactly what may be driving his personality, his behavioral patterns and characteristics. The problem with somebody like a Jerry Seinfeld doing that kind of thing is that the community views him as somebody that's comedic, somebody that's trying to bring attention to themselves for various reasons. But in watching that clip on the episode, I think he had very pure intentions in terms of just trying to evaluate what motivates him and what may drive his own behavioral patterns.
Yeah, I don't want to be black and white on this, but it seems that when we've been looking at the social media, and it's often the parents who have children who are quite involved and have severe challenges who seem to be taking offense a little bit more. Some people who are on the spectrum at the higher functioning, not that I like to use those labels, seem to be, saying, well, that's fair enough. We should be respectful of all of that. And so there's this, once again, a divide within the autism community when we should perhaps be looking for the benefits of that.
Yeah, I agree. And regarding the benefits, I'm always looking for individuals who are really advocating for this population. I care deeply as a result of being a chief clinical officer, providing oversight to over 1,200 families. I'm looking for advocacy. I respect advocacy. And one of the things that I think came out of this is, in my opinion, an increased level of awareness. And one of the things that I think that is critical to point out is that with any other disability, for example, there's an ability for us to relate to individuals because we may see some of ourselves in that person. So you take any other diagnostic category, it could be bipolar disorder, it could be, obsessive compulsive disorder, it could be, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We all see parts of ourselves in individuals that may have that diagnostic label. And I think that is exactly what Seinfeld was doing here, is that he's recognizing in himself his own humanity, his own patterns, and identifying with individuals that may be on the spectrum. And I think that does raise levels of awareness, primarily because people on the spectrum are no different from other human beings. The way that they operate, the way that their brains may work, is different for sure. But our ability to recognize in them what we see in ourselves, essentially, in my opinion, puts us in a position to better assist and better guide. So I think Seinfeld did raise awareness again, and I know there'll be debate in terms of whether that is helpful or not helpful, which is what you're pointing out. But I think anytime we can understand another individual because we see elements of ourselves in that individual, I think positions us better in terms of guiding people on the spectrum and doing that with compassion and with a sense of humanity.
I find it interesting that although Daryl Hannah has been pretty public about it for a number of years, the media seemed to only pick it up when she did the interview with People magazine, I think last fall, and much more of a favorable response within the community to her coming out, shall we say, or announcing that. And I know that Dan Aykroyd, another comedian, also has sort of not flippantly, but said it in an interview, and there's been some reaction that way. So I think that celebrities are held to some kind of higher standard or something.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and especially because we like to understand a celebrity in a certain way. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but with Seinfeld, we hold him and look at him through this comedic lens. And he's a comedy person, so therefore much of what he has to say, our interpretation is that it's designed in order to evoke some comedic response or some humorous response. And that's unfortunate because regardless of whether you're a celebrity or not, you're a human being with opinions and your own self-reflections. And I think that, in my opinion, is where it was coming from. But I think you're right. We do hold people to a higher standard, and we hold them more responsible than perhaps we would hold another person because of their role in the community.
Anything you want to add at this point?
I think probably the most important thing for me to add is that as a result of the research being done in genetics and such, one of the things that we're learning is that there are many kinds of autism. Dr. Dan Geschwin, for example, indicates very clearly that there can be multiple kinds of autism, depending on that person's presentation and what we know about their brain. So that's what I would like to add, is that the relevance of understanding the brain of the individual that we're trying to provide services to, and understanding through brain activity what their strengths are and what their deficit areas may be, will lead to very prescriptive interventions for that individual. Because if we know something about them that is very strong with respect to their brain-based activity, we'll want to use that information to appropriately educate them and to really foster that strength that the person has. And then when we know the weaknesses of that person's brain activity, it becomes very prescriptive in terms of what we need to focus our education on. I think the other thing that will lead to is clinical protocols that will be designed in order to effectively and efficiently treat an individual based on the brain-based information that we have about that individual. Personally, I'm very excited about being in this field of services and service delivery for children on the spectrum and adults on the spectrum as well, because I think we are going to get better and better at understanding what the effective and efficient clinical pathway is for them. So I see this as us moving into a new era with respect to diagnostics and effective treatment of this very special population, in my opinion.
Wow, it does sound exciting the way you've described it, I must say. So I'd like to thank you, Cameron, and the website for you is to encourage people to visit pacificchildandfamily.com is the website, and for where you are the Chief Clinical Officer. So thank you very much for taking your time. I know that you're traveling and working right at the moment, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.